Hey.
Good evening, and welcome to Homewood Nation Presents Tech Tuesday with Shimira Williams. I am your host, Elwin Green, publisher of Homewood Nation, and with me is our tech diva, Shimira Williams of Productivity LLC. How are you doing tonight, Shimira?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing well. It's back to school time, and we're going to talk tonight about how parents can use tech tools, readily available tech tools, to help keep track of their kids and keep up with what's going on with their schools. And I have to turn off my phone. Oh dear. Okay, you don't get a phone call all day, and then as soon as you start to do something, there it goes. My apologies for that. All right. Um, so for those of you who missed it, there was a story in the news last week about a young man who's a student at one of the charter schools here who got on the school van in the morning and woke up on the school van 6 hours later. The school did not know where he was. His parents did not know where he was. Um, and that's really kind of a parent's nightmare. In this case, things turned out okay, but the very fact that your child could go missing for 6 hours, that's a pretty scary thing. So, Ms. Williams, what are some first steps that someone could begin to take to prevent that kind of thing from happening, or to be able to just keep track of their child?
Well, there are new devices coming to the market that actually let you track your child, and it'll send you back a text message when they get on a school bus or anything like that. Um, there's different things for different markets, but they're pretty new as well, making them pretty much expensive. There are some basic things that you could do with the tech tools that you already have. For instance, meet your bus driver, your school bus driver, on the first day or the first week. I know in Pittsburgh sometimes the bus company changes or the bus driver, but get their phone number or send them a text message. If you're running late, they love to know that. Sometimes they're waiting on you just like you're waiting on them, especially when the snow hits our area. I also own a child care facility, so having the bus drivers text message, that was so convenient when it was a snow delay or anything else was happening. Like they're running 15 to
Mhm.
20 minutes behind. Did you miss the bus? Is the bus just running late? The school bus driver is so critical, and we always just say, just get on the bus. But that is a relationship that every parent needs to build.
Okay, okay. So the school bus driver is somebody that the parent should have their contact info for, and they should communicate with them on some kind of regular basis.
Yes, if your child is not going to school the next day and you know that, tell that bus driver. That bus driver is looking for that child just like their teacher is, just like they're their first line, or your transporter. They're there on cold days. They know what's happening at the school bus. They actually know what's happening in the school sometimes. So make sure you build a great relationship with your bus driver.
Okay, and within the school itself, should parents have contact info to communicate directly with teachers, with principal, with the vice principal? What
So
kind of?
at the school level, you should definitely, if your child is on a school bus in Pittsburgh Public Schools, most of them have a transportation coordinator in the front office, have their phone number. In addition, have the actual school bus company's phone number that your child rides on. So if it's A1 to ABC Transit, have their number. They are listed on Pittsburgh Public Schools website. There's also the Pittsburgh Public School District is divided into four different segments. You can actually find a coordinator for the transportation department for your area, for your school bus or for your school. So that's for transportation. Definitely have the bus driver's number, the bus company's phone number to the garage, the dispatch person in your area, which is broken down into 4 regions, as well as your school transporter coordinator person's name and number. As far as, just the day-to-day management, build a relationship with the front desk. They know everything. They know teacher information, they know parent information, they know community information. Everything has to go through that office. So just building a nice relationship. Hey, how you doing? First week of school. I love to take the muffins or hand sanitizer or something that they'll use on a daily basis. That's economical also for me. But it makes it easy. If a child is having an issue, they'll call you. As a child care provider, I've had them call me when they couldn't find a parent or the parent was unreachable because everybody can't use their cell phone during work hours.
Right, right.
So,
Okay.
making sure that that person knows who you are, making sure you have a relationship with your child's teacher. I recommend you sending a teacher a note, a handwritten note or typed that says, "Hi, I'm such and such as parent. The best way to communicate with me is whether it's email or telephone or texting." Let that teacher know what's the best way to communicate with you.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that because sometimes in the rush, I think, to just get the school year started, right? Parents actually might forget to let other people know their information, right? Okay, this is my home number, this is my work number, this is my cell number, and that can be just as critical as you having their information if they need to reach out to you in any kind of emergency. So I'm glad you touched on that.
And
Um,
I will mention one thing that drives everyone who is a care provider for children. If you change your phone number, please notify us.
yes,
Please notify your school, the teacher, your child care facility, the transporter. I know that seems like a lot of people to notify, but you can send out a mass text message if you have those people's contact information or a mass email. The worst thing is when an emergency actually occurs and you go to call a parent and their phone number has been changed or disconnected, and now you need to go and find an emergency contact and their phone number has been changed or disconnected. So when
right,
somebody's number changes, please notify all parties. Don't assume because you told the front office that they told your teacher and they told the bus driver, and they don't do that. That just got updated on your child's file.
okay. So really, it might be a good idea for a parent to have just depending upon what kind of phone they have or what kind of software they have for their contacts, but to actually create a group or a list where they can do a group text, right? Just send
Yes,
out the text to all of these people.
a group text is great.
Yeah.
This it tells everybody, okay, Johnny is sick today, or Johnny's not coming to school today, or we have a phone number update, or we've moved and our address is changing. All those things need to be communicated. Imagine a teacher is one person, they typically have 25 to 30 students. So if 8 parents have changed their phone numbers and it's an emergency,
Yeah. Yeah.
here we go.
Real ugly, real quick. Uh, so just to shift gears slightly, we've been talking about just uh, being in touch with the appropriate parties within the school or as part of the transportation arrangements. But when we consider um, the actual work that's happening at the school itself, and uh, every school has some sort of policies governing their kids' use of technology. And these days, some of our kids have as much tech as we do, maybe even more, right? It's the kid who has the cell phone and the laptop, right? Um, is the kid who has accounts on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and whatever. So kids have all of these tools that they're using these days. They have all of these platforms where they have accounts on these platforms in social media. Um, what should parents be aware of in terms of the school's rules for using devices or for using social media?
So every school, most schools currently have an actual internet usage policy, just like your employer does. And you sign it, and parents probably don't read it in detail, but it comes in, it's probably came in the last week in that big packet of information you got to sign and fill out. And there is an internet usage policy. It tells you what devices your child can bring to school, what happens when your child brings a device to school, who you should contact in the event that there is an issue around technology or social media within the school. Um, read it. Read it, because that will stop the phone calls of the teacher calling your home saying Johnny had his cell phone in class during a test.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, teachers have their own governing policies in their classrooms that sometimes strictly align to the school, and then sometimes they don't. Some teachers buck the system and say, well, I know how to use technology and I want to implement it in my classroom. So we are going to use Twitter for our class for whatever assignment that I feel is needed. Or we're going to use a Google site or a Google Plus page or create a group. And that's typically when you get to middle school and high school that they're doing those things. But
So when that happens, do the teachers typically give some sort of written notification for the child to take home to the parent so that the parent knows,
yes,
okay, that the teacher is doing this?
yes, the teacher typically does and should do that as a responsible teacher. When you don't know what other issues that family may have around identity protection, we always are quickly to forget that people are actually in the witness protection program, or they may be not wanting to be found by other parties. So be mindful in that when you do
Mm-hmm.
make, even as a teacher, when you make that assignment. Also, does everyone have the capacity to connect?
Mm-hmm.
If you assign Twitter and no half of your class doesn't have internet access, that defeats the point. But
Right.
teachers will communicate, whether it's via syllabi or just a note to parents saying we're going to use this. And typically, I've seen it that they actually still need to get some type of approval in the school.
Now, there was another case that happened last week, and we haven't talked about this previously, so I I don't know how much you've heard about it. I don't know all of the details myself, but it was the mother of a kindergarten student posted a comment on Facebook, and the child got expelled from the kindergarten. Do you know the case that I'm referring to?
I don't know the case that you are referring to, but here's a blanketed statement I will make as a child care provider. People ask me all the time, why doesn't the daycare have a Facebook page? Well, here's the reason. It is easy to tag someone in a Facebook picture. And parents don't always realize that Sally's kid may not, Sally's dad might not know where he's at, as well as so many other things. But comments, I'm friends with Elwin, and Elwin's cousin Sally decides he wants to comment on this picture, and that comment is taken to whatever level.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand, and nor am I aware of the article to understand why the child is now expelled for the parents' actions. And since it was a kindergartner, they can't possibly have written a complete statement about the issue because they're in kindergarten.
Right. Yeah, it was. And I wish that I recall more of the details, but the parent was upset about something that had happened with the kindergarten, and she posted a comment on Facebook, and the kindergarten came back and said, "Well, it looks like we're not going to be able to have the kind of parent-faculty relationship that we need here. So bye."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and I bet you more school districts actually move to that. that parent commenting can become an issue because we
Hmm.
haven't gotten to the topic of subtweeting and subtexting and bullying. And we were probably thinking that's teenagers, that happens in high school. But there are parents out there who do the same thing. You know,
Mm.
your kid didn't score the points we needed in the soccer game today, or you didn't bring snack, or Johnny's mom always forgets whatever item it is. And those things sometimes play out on social media without people's full knowledge or even breath of what they're doing. Like, once again, me and Elwin are friends. Elwin's cousin Sally's also in our classroom, a parent of the teacher in our classroom. Sally and Elwin are like, did you see what happened at school today? And a fourth party comes in and says, yeah, Miss Such and Such is always doing this. Now you've created something that's just going on and on and on, and it actually can cause discourse in a classroom for the teacher as well as the administration.
Um, as a very, very, very casual observer, I don't have kids, not directly related to anybody who has kids in the system, so I'm viewing everything from kind of a distance. But the impression that I get is of schools really, um, it's almost like they have to run to keep in place in terms of crafting policies for all of these, for the use of all of these tools and the social media. I, I I would not doubt that the kindergarten already had some sort of policy regarding the use of social media by faculty, but they might not have already had a written policy that says, well, parents can't say this type of thing or this type of thing, right? Um, so um, we're all still making it up as we go along to an extent.
Uh, I actually am crafting a training for early child care providers about how to put social media policies in their parent handbook as well as their employee handbook. I mean, your
Okay.
parent handbook now definitely needs a social media policy. What happens when a parent violates social media policies for an organization? Whether it's a baseball game or a PTO meeting. I mean, imagine
Mhm.
taking a picture of someone's child you didn't ask for, you didn't find out that they have. Did you have photo release privileges, and now you've posted it on your personal page? But that child was not allowed for any media for whatever reason. You're an unaware parent. He was Johnny standing next to your own kid, and you snapped that
Mhm.
picture, and now
Right.
you've triggered something. And I think it's so new, and we're so used to just running up to people taking their pictures. We don't even it doesn't even dawn on us to think to say, "Can I take your picture?" You kind of just snap the picture and be like, "I'm posting this on social medias."
Or even more to go to the parent and say, is it okay if I take your child's picture?
Right.
Yeah.
Because, my kid was playing with your kid. They were sitting next to each other. They're not thinking about it as it's really this big of a deal. And sometimes it is really that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, we are coming close to the end of our time here. Um, I wanted to uh, ask if you would have any hints on online resources that people could tap into to help them stay informed about school activities, because kids don't always tell their parents everything that they should about what's going on.
Okay. First and foremost, almost or most schools have at this point either have some type of social media presence. They're either on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram. I know Pittsburgh Public School is on all three of them. They might even be on Google Plus. You can also subscribe to their website. I know that for a fact for Pittsburgh Public Schools. For Pittsburgh Public Schools, you can subscribe to their calendar. Their calendar will show up in your calendar. So you don't have any reason to not know what's happening at the school. Some
Mhm.
various schools, like within the Pittsburgh public system still have their own website. So check and see if your actual school has a website, your school district has a website, your child's teacher might have their own private site, which is called an intranet. That's only for parents in that classroom, or current parents or former parents or groups. I've Pittsburgh Montessori, one of my students had a group. The teacher created a Google group, and parents could post in there. She would post homework assignments in there. So talk to your teacher, your child's teacher. They may have their own resources that they're using, whether it's their own personal Twitter account. They've created a landing page. There's so many educational platforms for them to post course and content to. Check with your teacher. Then front office, hey, do you guys have a website just for this school? Not the school district, just for this school. Some have it and some don't. And then your school district typically has their own site. So those are two different levels.
Okay, so the teacher, the school district.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Your school district might have a hashtag. You might be able to follow information via a hashtag for your school district. Every school is not as current as other schools. I have a child that goes to private school, and she goes to a small Catholic private school. Well, their calendar isn't on their website, but some general information is, some major dates are. But I know I can always pick up the phone and call.
Okay.
Some people still use fax machines. I still get fax blasts too. So don't discount the fax machine. Don't discount the fax machine.
I keep forgetting about those.
And mass text messaging is all the new rage. It's all the new rage of teachers being able to send out mass text messages, and they're still doing mass voicemail calling.
Really?
Yes,
now
they
that,
are.
You mean like the robocalls?
The robocalls still happen.
Wow.
In the city of Pittsburgh, we don't do robocalls. But let's go to Altoona. They still do robocalls. Everywhere is not as connected as we think they are. Pennsylvania is the best example. They say it's Alabama in the middle. You got Pittsburgh on the west coast of Pennsylvania and Philly on the east, but in the middle it's just Alabama. Sometimes you got a signal, sometimes you don't got a signal. You don't know if you're going to get a signal. Do they even have Wi-Fi out here? They're like, some places, and I think, what do you mean you don't have Wi-Fi? But there are still some places that are like, so we have dial-up, and you're like, dial what? Who'd you dial? So be realistic.
So we were, I'm just back with my wife from a weekend trip. We were in New Jersey, and we stopped at a cafe on the way back, the Thomastown Cafe. Thomastown, population 697. No Wi-Fi to be found in Thomastown.
No Starbucks, no. Everybody still knows. Guess what? That's actually the best way information about school is communicated. I go to the bus stop. The bus stop in the first 2 weeks of school is so informative, so very informative. You find out who's such and such's mom because something has happened at that bus stop, or the parent's just afraid. There's a day I could get out there. I'm gonna just go stand at the bus stop with my kid, whether it's to pick them up or put them on the bus to get to school. Every parent in the first 2 weeks wants to feel like somebody greeted their child at the bus stop.
Okay. So that brings us back to the need for always having a way to maintain the personal connection. It doesn't matter how many tools we have or how fast our internet speed is. In the end, it comes down to people, interacting with people, and sometimes the very best way is face-to-face at the bus stop.
At the bus stop, get that parent's cell phone number that's standing at that bus stop with you. Because in an emergency, when you can't find your kid, you can always call that parent and say, hey, did you see my kid get off the school bus today? There are plenty of times I've been at a school bus and another parent's like, well, you kind of hear all the time when my kid's getting off. Did my kid get off the bus? And I'm like, nope, their school bus either came, they didn't get off, their school bus hasn't arrived yet. So
Mm.
think about it that way. Be a neighbor. Be a neighbor. It still works. Send them a text message. Hey, your kid got off the school bus. Hey, your kid's not on the school bus. I'm just giving you the heads up. Maybe, they picked up their kid and you just didn't know that. But just giving that community heads up. So yes, tech is great, but nothing beats a human connection.
Okay. We are going to wind it up here. Ms. Shimira Williams, a pleasure as always. Appreciate it so much. Um, Elwin Green here with Homewood Nation Presents. This has been episode 2 of Tech Tuesday with Shimira Williams. This is an ongoing series, so we ask you to mark your calendars for Tuesdays at 8 p.m. We'll be here every week, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, to help you figure out how to be more productive and have more fun and help to maintain the human connection with all of these wonderful tools that we have. Thanks. Ms. Williams, you want to say good night to our folks?
Good night. See you next week.
See you all next week. Good night.